Hey, welcome back to Become a Calm Mama. I'm your host. I'm Darlene Childress. I'm a life and parenting coach, and it's that time of year again. There's new backpacks, new teachers, new routines, and I want to do something with you today before we get into any of the logistics of the new school year. I want to help you set an intention for the school year because most of us jump straight into schedules and rules and to-do lists, and we skip the part that actually determines how the year feels and how it goes for us. So today's episode is all about setting your family's intention for this school year, starting with your mindset and your goals before you start with all the logistics. Now, this can be kind of hard because once we get to the end of the summer and the school year starts, a lot of us are really tired. We just came off of a summer that required a lot of camps to coordinate, kids to entertain, our own work to keep up with. And now here we go, right into a whole new set of demands, right? Homework, activities, carpools, forms to sign. And it's tempting to just put your head down and get through it. But I want you to know, if you don't decide on purpose how you want this school year to feel, the year will just happen to you. And the years go by really fast, and you're going to end up reacting the whole time instead of sort of steering the ship for yourself. And I don't think that that's actually less effort. It actually feels harder when you don't have power or intention over your life. Reacting is more exhausting than spending 20 minutes now with me getting clear about what you actually want. So that's the invitation today. A little bit of upfront thinking that's going to pay all year long as you go through this year. So what am I even talking about, right? I'm talking about mindset. I'm talking about intention. And how I think about intention as a life coach working with parents, right, is I think about chasing feelings. I want to start with how you want to feel this school year instead of what you want to do. I want you to be able to pick a couple of emotions that will help define you this year and define your family and what you want your whole emotional experience to be in your family. When you do that, when you create an intention for how you want to feel about an experience, before the experience even starts, you get to actually chase that feeling. Most of us go into a new school year reactively, right? We just respond to whatever comes at us day by day. But if you take a few minutes now to decide how you actually want to feel this year, you'll have something to come back to when things get hard. It's like a compass, basically. So here's the exercise. It's really simple. What are the top 3 emotions you want to have during this school year? Now, not what you think you're supposed to feel, what you actually want more of. So common ones that moms pick, like they want to feel more calm, they want to feel more connected, they want to feel more confident, they want to have more peace or ease, they want to have more gratitude, they want to feel more content, they want to have more clarity. So there's no right answer. It's just about thinking about what do you want to create more of in your family this year for yourself. Maybe you want more joy. Maybe you want more fun. Maybe you want more ease. And I've talked about this when I talk about summer mindset. I've talked about this about winter break mindset. But this time we're talking about it when it comes to school mindset, the school year. How do you want it to feel in your family? What are you chasing? I was thinking about this when I was writing this episode about how I want to feel this year. And my kids are going to college. They're in college. And so the end of this summer will happen in a couple weeks. Actually, it happens as this episode comes out. And how do I want to feel while I know my kids are at school? I want to feel productive this year. And I want to feel more free, actually. So I want to have more freedom and I want to have more productivity. But that's because my kids are older. When they were younger, I wanted to have calm, always calm, calm, calm. For years, I was just chasing that, right? That's why this podcast is called Become a Calm Mama, because I have been chasing calm for the whole time I raised kids, basically, and learning more and more how to create that. So that's what I want for you to figure out is, what do you want more of this year? And then also the cool thing is that you can ask your kids the same question. Ask them, what do you want to feel this year? You might be surprised by their answers, and it might give you sort of clarity about how you want to guide them or coach them this year. And when things start to go sideways, you can check in with each other. And so you can say, like, how's it going? Are you feeling more confident? Like you said, you wanted to be more confident. And, how's that going? Or if they're struggling with something and they said they wanted to build more confidence, you can talk about it. You say, this is what confidence looks like. It looks like overcoming hard moments and building belief in yourself that you can manage it and handle it. So this homework assignment that you are struggling with, or this project, or this new coach, or this new whatever, if you want to feel confident, we have to struggle and get through to the other side. And that's where the confidence is. It's on the other side of this, this handout that you're trying to do. So it's really helpful information to find out what your kids are chasing and what feelings they want to feel. And it also just gives them the concept that you get to feel on purpose. Like you get to be intentional about your feelings. And how that works is your thoughts create your feelings. So if I want to feel more free in my life, I need to be thinking thoughts like, I get to do what I want. I have a lot of free time right now, and that's great. And I'm enjoying this. And I love this, instead of feeling a little bit depressed or sad or meaningless or purposeless because I don't know what to do with my kids being at school, at college, right? So for you, I want you to believe that peace is possible. Calm is inevitable. Calm starts with me. Whatever thoughts that you need to think will help you chase the feelings that you want to feel. So, okay, now I want to talk a little bit about goals. And I want us to think about goals in these 3 areas of our lives. So you have your feelings sorted, and now we're going to think about these 3 categories, because of course, your kids have academic goals, but you as a parent, as a family, you have your home that you want to manage, right? You have your job, your work-life balance, your chores, how they're divided, quality family time, balancing screen time, getting enough sleep, getting enough movement, right? So you have kind of like how you want the house to feel or how you want your home life to be like. So if that means improved connection or better hygiene routines or better sleep habits, I want you to think about 1 or 2 things in your life at home that you would like to change. So pick something that matters to you, that maybe think about last year that you didn't like or that you just wished you had more of. And if it's like dialing in sleep, dial in sleep. If it's dialing diet, say, I want to dial in diet. If it's dialing in your own self-care and like creating more work-life balance or home balance, then say, okay, that's what I want. I want to create more time for myself. I want to create more equity in my partnership with the person I co-parent with, whether that's your partner, your spouse, whoever it is. Deciding, yes, I want to change the way that we structure our family life, and I want to give that person more responsibility. So I want you to think about a goal in your personal, like, home life, and that you want to prioritize. Then I want you to think about an academic goal for your kids, right? So in general, it can be hard to figure out what our kids need to work on, right? But because they feel like they have to work on everything. Yeah. So I'd love for you to think about it like over the course of the next several years, you want your kids to learn a bunch of academic skills. And that could be math, reading, writing, or it could be time management, motivation, personal responsibility, just kind of general work habits, study habits. There's a lot of different academic goals. So I'd love for you to think about 1 or 2 things that you want to have each kid work on and kind of narrate it, like dial it in, decide what it is that you see a gap and you want to work on that this year or this quarter or whatever it is. Could be organization, concentration. So again, not all of it. What's actually relevant for your kid this year? What do they need to work on? And then I want you to think about social emotional goals. So do you want your kid to build self-awareness, like recognizing their emotion, self-management, expressing their emotion in ways that work, social awareness, maintaining and building relationships, self-agency, setting, pursuing goals, resiliency, bouncing back from setbacks. So thinking about these different areas that you want your kid to grow in. So I'll go back and just kind of say what those are, because I think it'll be helpful to you to kind of know what I just said, right? Okay. So Self-awareness is one. That means like they recognize their emotion. Self-management, express that emotion in ways that work. Social awareness, just building and maintaining relationships and knowing what's going on in the world. And then self-agency, being able to set and pursue their own goals and like manage themselves, especially as they get into middle school. We want them to feel like they have power over their lives and they can set goals and work towards those goals. And then, of course, resiliency is so important, being able to bounce back from setbacks. So thinking about your kid and your family in these three buckets, right? We have your home life, kind of like how it's run. And if you feel like screens were over the top last year, fix that. Sleep was out of bounds, fix that. Diet, fix that. Now, if you felt all three of those were terrible, then just pick one. If you felt like you were doing all the invisible labor and mental load and all of that, and you want to share that with your partner, talk about that. That's going to take time to transfer some of that responsibility to your partner. So giving yourself a goal in an area for the next 3 months will help you feel less overwhelmed by your family. So a home goal, an academic goal, and then a social and emotional goal. These are kind of like the buckets that you're working with as a family. So picking your priorities across these buckets for the first few months of school, and then same with the feelings. Like we said, we ask our kids what their feelings are that they want to chase. I want you to also ask your kids what they want to focus on. What's one thing around the house you'd like to improve? What's one thing in your academics you'd like to improve? What's one thing socially or emotionally you want to improve? You can just ask them that. They're going, what's social and emotional? And then you can give them examples like managing your feelings or managing your friendships, things like that. So again, you might be surprised. It's so interesting to ask your kids these questions to find out what they want to work on. And what a gift as a 9-year-old to be asked, what do you want to work on? Right? What is it that you are interested in learning about or growing? So let me give you some down-to-earth practical examples, concrete examples, because picking your goals can feel kind of abstract until you see it in action. Okay, so say you've got a family where mornings have been chaotic and everyone's frazzled by 7:45. And your home goal this year might be peace and harmony, specifically around mornings. Your academic goal might be really simple, like homework gets started before dinner, not after. And then your social emotional goal for your kid might be resiliency, because you noticed last year that they fell apart at the first sign of a hard math problem. Or say you've got a family with a strong-willed middle schooler navigating new friend dynamics. So your home goal might be improve connection, carving out even 15 minutes a day of real conversation. Your academic goal might be organization, because backpacks and planners have been a disaster. And then your social emotional goal might be self-management, helping them find better ways to express frustration than shutting down or snapping. So notice that neither of these examples has 10 goals, just a handful, like one from each bucket, specific enough that you'd actually know if you were making progress. We have one family working on improved connection or organization or social emotional self-management. So I want you to think about your own family and deciding kind of in these areas, what is one or two things that you want to work on? Again, this isn't to like add homework to your list of things to do, because I know you already have a lot going on. But what I think happens to us as women and as moms is that we have so many goals that we get overwhelmed, and there's like everything feels like it's a mess and a disaster and we need to fix everything, especially at the beginning of the school year. And I don't want you to get stuck in that trap. I don't want you to get stuck in that overwhelm trap. This is the way to prevent that overwhelm, by taking back some agency within yourself and deciding, okay, I know there's stuff to work on in my family. We're going to work on this in our home life, this in academics, and this in social emotional. And we're going to check in 3 months from now and see where we're at. All the while chasing that feeling of joy, or all the while chasing that feeling of calm, or that feeling of purpose or gratitude, or whatever it is the feeling. So I want you to really kind of be specific in order to feel less overwhelmed. That's actually my goal, is always to help you feel less overwhelmed, not more. So I'm not trying to make like another thing you have to do as a parent. You're already doing this in your mind, but it's vague and it's hard to catch and there's too much going on. So we're kind of being specific in order to feel more, to have more power, to feel more empowered. Now, of course, your goals are going to collide with reality. So here's something I want you to know. Like, there's going to be days when you can't satisfy what the teacher or the school wants from your kid while also honoring the rhythm that works for your family. So your goals and the school's goals might genuinely be in conflict. That's okay. That's normal. In those moments, it's not about trying to do everything, it's prioritizing. When you're overwhelmed, when there's too much on the list and your kid is in the middle of big feelings, pause. Come back to your goals another time. Give yourself permission to focus on just one thing today, not all three priorities, not everything on the list. Just the one thing that matters most right now, which is, here's an example. It's 7 p.m., homework isn't done, your kid is exhausted and starting to unravel, bedtime is approaching, the school's goal is homework completion. But your goal tonight might be connection and sleep. You're allowed to decide that tonight sleep wins over finishing this worksheet. That's not you failing the school's expectations. That's you prioritizing on purpose based on what you decided mattered back when you were thinking clearly. So I really want you to feel like you have a lot of permission and power over your life and prioritizing what is the right thing for your family at a certain time. So one last thing, this isn't a one-time exercise that you do in August and then forget. Like, there's a value in naming your feelings and goals. And the value is that you can actually come back to them in October, in January, when things feel off track. Like, write these down, these small little lists of like feelings I'm chasing this year, 3 priorities or 3 goals. Then you can come back to it and be like, how'd I do on that? How are we doing? Do I want to reset those? Or like, did we master that? Like, should I pick new ones? So when you're feeling off track, you can just ask yourself, am I closer to feeling the way that I said I wanted to feel? Are we making progress? Or has something shifted? Is it something that I need to revise? And maybe you said, I really want to be organized this year. And then you worked really hard at it for a couple of weeks and you realize, I actually don't care. It's too much work for me. It doesn't bother me if the house is messy. Well, that's fine. Then let it be messy. So you get to decide. Maybe you thought you needed to focus on connection, but it turns out that you guys wanted to focus on social life and being more out and about and being with friends more than being with the family unit. Maybe you want to focus on connection in the winter when the weather changes. So the point isn't to like lock yourself in. It's just to become self-aware and be intentional with your family. So this is all about having something concrete to check in and knowing where you're going as a family and whether you're making the progress that you want. Again, you do not need to take it that seriously, but I do think it's useful to jot down a couple of goals so that you don't feel so overwhelmed when your family is, going cuckoo pants. Okay. All right. So here's the recap. Before you build your routines this year, I want you to take a few minutes to name how you actually want to feel. So deciding how you want to feel and asking your kids, how do they want to feel? And then getting clear on a handful of goals across home, academics, and social emotional growth. Again, for both you and your kids, ask them. And then when the priorities collide, which they will, give yourself permission to focus on just one thing instead of trying to do it all. And then coming back to this intention throughout the year as a living compass, like, am I doing what I thought I was going to be doing? Am I living the way that I wanted to live? If not, no problem. Then you can, reset, go back to your intention or change it. So I'd love to invite you to do this with your kids, just like over ice cream or in the car or like, while you're sitting outside in the sun, enjoying the last little bits of the sun for the summer. Asking them, how do you want to feel this year? What's your goal? What do you want to work on? And even little kids, like 4-year-olds, you could ask them. They don't really know, but it would make it funny to have a funny conversation with them. Like, what's a goal? And you can talk about it a little bit. So especially as they get older, this is a really good conversation to have with middle schoolers, even though they'll be like, oh, I don't care, stupid, doesn't matter. They may enjoy it. Or their English teacher might be asking them this question too. So you can kind of give them a little prod so that they can, answer these questions, in themselves before they get to school. All right. I hope you like this concept. I'm so curious to find out if you guys are like this kind of mindset work or if it's annoying to you. I think it's really helpful when I do spend time being intentional and thinking about my goals. I do feel better about myself and my family and like where we're going. I feel less overwhelmed. I feel less frustrated. So it is useful. And I don't know if you like it or not, but I did want to do an episode on this topic so that you could get that support you need and have that confidence going into the school year that you don't need to approach it as like a all or nothing situation, that you get to pick what you want to work on, how you want to feel, and take it at your own pace as a family and be intentional about yourself and your kids and your family. So I hope it helps you have a great intentional start of the school year. And then the next few weeks, we're going to talk about the practical stuff like mornings and screens and sleep and all of those routines and handling meltdowns and things like that. So I think you're really going to enjoy the next few weeks because I'm going to get into a lot of practical, really important things to help you manage your life in ways that are like useful. So this was your intentional mindset episode, and then we'll get into all of the details next time. So I hope you have a great week, and I will talk to you next time. Hey mama, if you enjoyed this podcast episode, I want to encourage you to do two things. The first is go to my website, calmmamacoaching.com, and get a copy of the Stop Yelling cheat sheet. You'll get a step-by-step breakdown of the most important tool I teach, which is the pause break. And you'll also get 40 ideas to reset your body and balance your nervous system so you don't have to yell at your kids. You can get a copy of that, again, at my website, calmmamacoaching.com/stop yelling. The other thing I'd love for you to do is go to Apple Podcasts and rate and review this podcast so that other moms can discover empowering and helpful, practical parenting strategies just like you did today. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. It means a lot to be in your ear every week and to support you on your parenting journey.